Before we start, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It happened in the kind of kitchen you don't expect to be the battleground for a marriage. Laminate counters, a fridge plastered with fading marriage photos, and a chipped mug that said "Number 1 husband," long since retired from truth. That night, I came home from the warehouse, boots dragging, back aching from unloading shipments for 12 hours straight. Cedar Grove winters bite deep, and the cold had settled into my bones. I pushed open the door, and the smell of overcooked pasta filled the space. Stacy was at the sink, scrolling on her phone like she didn't even notice I'd come in. "You're late," she said flatly. Didn't look at me. "Dishes are waiting." I blinked, dropped my lunch pail on the counter with a dull thunk. "Stacy, I just worked 12 hours. Can it wait?" That's when she turned. Her eyes flicked over me like I was something she was tired of pretending to care about. "What? Too tired to rinse a plate? What exactly do you do besides sweat and come home grunting?" I didn't answer right away. My fingers tightened around the strap of my lunchbox. "I keep the lights on." "Barely," she scoffed, brushing past me. "You think you're some kind of provider? Matt, you're not even man enough to handle the dishes in your own house." That one hit square. I could feel the heat rise in my chest. "You know what, Stacy? I'm sick of the way you talk to me like I'm beneath you." "Oh, poor you," she sneered, arms crossing. "You get to play the victim now? You treat me like I'm useless," I snapped. "Like nothing I do counts unless it comes with a 6-figure paycheck." "Because it doesn't." Her voice shot up, sharp enough to slice through drywall. "You come home smelling like a rusted dumpster and expect a medal for doing the bare minimum." "Bare minimum?" I stepped closer, shaking now. "I give everything I have to this house." "To you?" "No, you give everything to your damn job because it's the only place people still tolerate you." "I've been stuck in this house, cleaning up after a man who stopped trying years ago." "Then leave," I said before I could stop myself. "If I'm that much of a burden, you think I haven't thought about it?" she hissed. "Every single day." The silence that followed was the ugliest kind, the kind that rang loud and final. I stood there, breathing hard, my hands curled into fists. She grabbed her wine glass from the counter, took a long sip, and shook her head like she'd just finished arguing with a toddler. "God, you're pathetic," she muttered. "You're not even worth the energy it takes to argue." She turned and walked out of the kitchen, and I just stood there, alone, in the same spot I stood every night after work, only tonight. Something cracked. For years, I told myself the little things didn't matter. The insults passed like butter, the cold glances, the way she never asked if I was okay. I'd tell myself, it's just marriage. It's hard. Ride it out. But tonight, this was different. Because tonight, for the first time, I didn't feel humiliated. I felt awake. The house had gone still by the time I settled into the sagging recliner in the living room. The kind of silence that feels less like peace and more like something collapsed. I had a beer open on the coffee table, the cheap kind I buy in a 12-pack, not because I like it, but because it's what I can afford after gas and groceries. The TV was on low, some late-night sitcom laughing without me. I wasn't really watching. I just sat there, staring at the beer as the fizz fizzled down and the weight of the night pressed into me. Behind me, down the hallway, our bedroom door was shut. She hadn't said a word after that blow-up in the kitchen. No apology. No look back. Just silence. I took a sip. Bitter. My eyes drifted to the window, the street lamp outside flickering like it couldn't decide whether to stay alive. And out of nowhere, I started replaying things I hadn't let myself think about in a long time. Like the time Stacy laughed in my face when I brought up applying for a promotion at work. "Manager," she scoffed, folding laundry like it was a performance. "You can't even fix the toilet without calling my brother. What makes you think you're leadership material?" That was 2 years ago. I remember lying awake that night thinking, maybe she's right. Maybe I'm better off keeping my head down, clocking in, clocking out, keeping the peace. But peace, I was starting to realize, had a price. Then there was the intimacy, or lack of it. She used to reach for me, used to smile when I came home smelling like sawdust and steel. But somewhere along the line, she started acting like being touched by me was a chore. Once, I tried to hold her hand while we watched a movie. She pulled away without even looking at me. "Don't," she said. "You're sweaty." That same night, I just fixed the garage door by myself for the first time in years. She didn't say a word about it. No thanks. No good job. Just, "You're sweaty." That kind of thing sticks. And then there were the decisions. Big ones. When she took money out of our joint savings and spent it on new living room furniture without asking. Told me afterward like it was already settled. I figured you'd be fine with it, she said, as if my opinion was more of a courtesy than a necessity. She made it clear over time. She ran the house. I just lived in it. I didn't used to be this bitter. I didn't even realize how far it had gotten. But that's the thing about slow disrespect. It doesn't punch you in the face. It seeps in like mold behind drywall. Quiet. Ugly. Dangerous. I tipped the beer back, finishing what was left. And I started wondering, when did I stop recognizing myself in this marriage? I used to be someone who dreamed. Not of big things, not of yachts or private jets, just of respect. Of building a life side by side with someone who saw me. Not as a wallet, not as a handyman, but as a man. Somewhere along the line, that version of me got smothered under grocery lists, late bills, and conversations that always felt one-sided. And sitting in that recliner, I felt it. Not rage, not sadness, just clarity. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't weak. And I sure as hell wasn't the problem. The way she talked to me tonight, that wasn't a crack in the wall. It was the foundation finally giving out. I set the empty bottle down gently. The sitcom was still playing, characters laughing at a punchline I didn't catch. But I wasn't in that world. I was in mine. And for the first time in a long time, I was listening to myself. The morning light in Cedar Grove didn't feel any softer just because the night had been long. It crept through the blinds like it always did, spilling over the chipped tile of the kitchen floor and catching on the half-empty coffee pot Stacy had left on the burner. I was already at the table when she walked in, hair still damp from a rushed shower, face bare. No good morning, no glance. Just that cool, irritated silence she wore like armor. She opened the cabinet, grabbed her favorite mug, the one with the faded pink lettering that read Queen of Everything. Fitting. I let the corner of my mouth twitch, but said nothing. She poured her coffee, took a sip, and without turning around, muttered, "You gonna mope again today? Or is the tantrum over?" I didn't flinch. "No tantrum," I said evenly. "But we are changing a few things around here." That made her pause. She turned, slowly, arms crossing over her chest. "Oh, we are we?" Her voice carried that mocking lilt she always used when I dared to show a spine. "Since when do you make the rules?" I didn't rise to it. I didn't raise my voice or bang the table like I might have years ago, back when I still believed being loud was the same as being heard. Instead, I reached into the inside pocket of my flannel jacket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I called the bank this morning," I said calmly. "Moved our joint checking into my personal account. All of it." Stacy blinked. "What?" "I figured since I'm the one earning it, I should be the one managing it. From now on, I handle the finances, bills, savings, everything. You'll run the house. Groceries, cleaning, laundry. If you need anything for the house, you ask. Like I've been asking for years." Her eyebrows shot up. "You're joking." I shook my head. "No, you don't have the right." "I do." I cut in. Not loud. Not angry. Just sure. "I've let things slide for too long. But I'm not your roommate. I'm not your butler. I'm your husband. And we either build something fair from here on out, or we stop pretending." She stared at me, like I'd suddenly started speaking another language. "You're seriously pulling this controlling man nonsense now?" she spat. "After all this time?" "No," I said. "I'm pulling the equal partner card. Something I should have done a long time ago." Her coffee mug clinked a little harder as she set it on the counter. "This is pathetic, Matt. And yet, here we are." She looked at me like she was trying to decide if I'd lost my mind, or grown a new one. "You think you're going to scare me into submission?" she asked. "No," I replied, meeting her gaze. "I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just done playing by rules I never agreed to." She was quiet for a moment. I could see her mind working, fast. She was weighing it all. The bank transfer, the calm in my voice, the fact that I wasn't bluffing. And when she realized it, that I wasn't going to yell, that I wasn't going to beg, that I wasn't going to fold, she took a slow breath, eyes narrowing, and gave the smallest, tightest nod. "Fine," she said. "Have it your way." Then she grabbed her mug and walked out. But she didn't slam the door like she used to. She didn't curse under her breath. And that silence? That was the first real win I'd had in years. It was almost noon when I clocked into the hardware store. My part-time gig, Thatcher's Home Supply, wasn't glamorous, but the regulars were decent, and the work kept my hands busy. Stocking shelves, fixing the display toilets when they wobbled, answering questions about paint shades with names like Dusty Wheat or Silent Meadow. After that kitchen standoff with Stacy, I should have felt drained. But I didn't. Something had shifted. The world still looked the same, but it didn't feel the same. Like I was finally the one driving instead of being dragged along. Joel was working the register when I walked in, tall guy in his mid-50s, bald on top, but always with a pin tucked behind one ear. He'd been at Thatcher's for 20 years and treated the place like a second home. Friendly type, but he didn't pry. Until today. "You look different," he said as I clocked in. "Not tired. Just taller, maybe." I smirked. "Must be the boots." He glanced down. "Same ones you've worn since February." "Maybe I just got tired of being stepped on," I muttered, grabbing the cart of inventory. Joel didn't laugh. He watched me for a second longer, then followed me toward aisle 7, lawn care and birdseed. "You and your wife still living like ghost roommates?" he asked, voice low. I paused. "Something like that." He nodded slowly. "You ever think about figuring out what she's really up to?" I turned to face him. "Meaning?" Joel leaned against the shelving unit, arms crossed. "Matt, I don't want to stick my nose where it doesn't belong. But I've seen that look on your face before. Had a buddy once, same exact story. Wife turned cold, started hiding her phone, coming home late. Always on edge." I said nothing. Just listened. "He hired a guy," Joel continued. "Private investigator. Turns out his wife had been sneaking off every Tuesday to see someone else. Once he knew the truth, he could stop guessing. Took back his life. Isn't that a little extreme?" Joel shrugged. "So sitting in the dark while someone lies to your face." I exhaled. "You know someone?" He reached into his back pocket, pulled out a worn business card, and handed it over. "Name's Roger Fields. Used to be a cop. Keeps things quiet. Doesn't overcharge. He's not one of those TV types. Just a guy who's seen enough to know when something smells off." I turned the card over in my hand. Simple print. No nonsense. "You're not the first guy to need help," Joel said gently. "And you don't gotta be the last one to do something about it." For a moment, I didn't say anything. The hum of the store buzzed low around us. Distant radio, the beep of a scanner, the clatter of a hammer being shelved 3 aisles over. Then I nodded, tucked the card into my wallet. "Thanks." Joel clapped me on the shoulder. "You ever need to talk? I'm here." He started to walk off, then paused. "And Matt?" "Yeah? Whatever you find out, don't let it define you. Let it free you." That line stuck with me for the rest of the day. I stocked shelves like usual. Answered dumb questions about caulk. Showed a guy how to fix a leaky faucet. But under it all, a small ember had lit inside me. For the first time in months, maybe longer, I wasn't just reacting to what was happening. I was choosing something. Taking a step. I didn't know what I'd find if I called that number. But for once, I wasn't afraid of the truth. The house didn't turn peaceful after I laid down the rules. If anything, it became something worse, quiet in a way that felt weaponized. For the first time in years, Stacy actually cleaned. I came home to folded laundry, wiped counters, and vacuum lines running in neat stripes across the carpet. She cooked dinner twice, once even lit a candle on the table, though she didn't sit with me. But none of it felt right. It wasn't her doing chores that unsettled me. It was the way she did them, mechanical, almost theatrical, like she wanted me to see it, but not appreciate it. And every movement came with commentary, not to me, but just loud enough for me to hear. Guess even cavemen like tidy homes. Be nice if effort went both ways. Maybe if someone in this house could afford a real dishwasher. She never said it to my face. Always when my back was turned. Always with that razor-thin smile when I glanced her way. I didn't bite. Didn't snap. I'd learned by now that silence can be its own kind of power. But I noticed other things too. The way her phone was always in her hand. The way she'd walk into another room the second it buzzed. How she'd lower her voice and laugh softly, then glance toward me as if checking to see if I was listening. Once, I walked in on her whispering into it in the laundry room. When she saw me, she jumped and fumbled it into her back pocket. "Oh," she said, too casual. "It was just Abby." "Didn't sound like Abby," I said evenly. She narrowed her eyes, but only smirked. "Maybe you're just out of practice hearing how normal people talk." Then she turned the dryer on and walked out. 3 days of this. Of her shadow games and whispered giggles and fake humming as she scrubbed dishes with her back to me. And the suspicion in me turned from a passing thought to something heavier. She was hiding something. I didn't know what exactly. but I could feel it. It was in the way she came back from the store without any bags. In the way she took longer showers, but came out looking like she hadn't touched a drop of water. In the sudden new lipstick that showed up on the bathroom shelf, one shade darker than she ever wore for me. At night, I lay awake and watched the phone light up on her nightstand. She'd angle it away from me, roll over, and smile into the screen like it was someone who really saw her. And every time it lit up, I felt something boil just a little hotter in my chest. But I didn't say a word. Not yet. I had Roger Field's card in my wallet. I'd pulled it out twice, looked at the number, put it back. I wasn't afraid of what he'd find. I was just waiting for that last piece to fall into place. That final drop of proof. Until then, I let Stacy mutter. Let her play her part. Because sometimes, the best way to catch someone lying is to let them keep talking. And she was talking plenty. Just not to me. It was Thursday evening when she said it. I'd just gotten home from the warehouse, changed into clean jeans, and was halfway through fixing the leaky kitchen faucet. The cabinet under the sink was still open, a small towel catching drips. Stacy was standing by the fridge, arms folded, that familiar tension in her jaw tightening like a clock winding down. I need 7 days, she said, like she was placing a food order. Just time to think. I slid out from under the sink slowly. Time to think. She nodded, not meeting my eyes. Alone. Alone where? Does it matter? She snapped, her voice rising a notch too quickly. I'm not cheating on you, if that's what you're fishing for. I hadn't said a word about cheating. Not yet. But the speed of her defense told me more than she meant it to. You're leaving for a week without telling me where you're going. That's not space, Stacy. That's running. I need to clear my head. From what? I asked. The laundry you've been muttering through? The house you suddenly remember how to clean? Or from me, the guy you've ignored for 2 years? Her jaw tensed tighter. You don't get to guilt me. Not after the stunt with the bank account. That wasn't a stunt, I said. That was the first time in years I actually took control of something in this house. And now you're packing a bag? I'm not doing this with you, she hissed, spinning on her heel. Stacy. She stopped in the doorway, suitcase already zipped and waiting by the coat rack. It hadn't been there when I got home, which meant she'd packed it while I was still at work. She'd planned this. This isn't forever, she muttered. I just need a break. A few days away from this tension, from you watching me like I'm on trial. I'll be back in a week. You sure you'll be back? I asked quietly. That made her pause. For a split second, I thought I saw something flicker in her expression. Maybe guilt, maybe nerves. Then it was gone. She grabbed the handle, yanked the door open, and called back over her shoulder. 7 days, Matt. Try not to burn the place down. The door slammed. Her car started less than a minute later. I didn't follow her. I didn't shout into the empty driveway. I didn't beg. Instead, I walked to the kitchen drawer, pulled out Roger Field's card, and stared at it under the dim light above the sink. I took a breath, picked up my phone, dialed the number. It rang twice. Fields, a gravelly voice answered. My name's Matt Grayson, I said. Joel Harper gave me your card. Said you might be able to help with something private. Go on. My wife left tonight. Says she needs a week to clear her head. But something's off. I could hear keys clacking on the other end. How long has she been acting off? A few months. Cold. Distant. Always on her phone. Whispering. Lying straight to my face without blinking. You think she's with someone. I don't know what to think, I admitted. But I'm done guessing. All right, Roger said. I don't make promises, but I find answers. I'll need her name, car make and model, plate number, and a photo if you've got one. I gave him everything. Her name, Stacy Grayson. A silver 2017 Ford Escape. License plate 2EKY54. I texted over the photo I had from our last vacation, the one where she smiled so convincingly it still made my stomach twist. Got it, he said. I'll run a trace through her car's last few registered locations and go from there. If she's using cards, we'll find a trail. If she's meeting someone, I'll see it. How soon will you know? Give me 48 hours. I'll be in touch. He hung up without a goodbye. Just business. I stood in the kitchen for a long while after that. Faucet still dripping behind me. The silence thicker than usual. She said she needed space. So I gave it to her. But now I was finally going to see what she did with it. If this part resonates, give the video a thumbs up. Roger didn't call first. He just showed up. Saturday evening, just after 6. I'd been sitting on the back porch, watching the sky turn that strange shade between orange and purple when I heard his car pull up. Dark sedan, tinted windows, the kind of vehicle that looked like it belonged to someone who'd seen more than most. He stepped out, carrying a manila envelope under one arm, dressed in a plain gray jacket like he wanted to blend into the air. His eyes were sharp, quiet. A man who didn't waste words. "You said you wanted the truth," Roger said simply, coming up the porch steps. I nodded once. "You find her." I did. He held out the envelope like it was just another errand. But it weighed more than paper should. "Is it bad?" I asked, already knowing. Roger didn't answer, just motioned to the envelope. "See for yourself." I opened it slowly. Inside, photos, printed, glossy, undeniable. Stacy, walking out of a small wood-paneled cabin, somewhere with pine trees and a lake just in the background. Wearing the coat I bought her last Christmas. Laughing, smiling, not alone. A man stood beside her, close, too close. He had one hand on her lower back. Another photo showed them at a small-town diner, her head tilted toward his, her hand grazing his arm across the table like she couldn't help herself. Alan Kessler. That name was paper-clipped to the first page of the file Roger had compiled. I flipped through the notes. Alan Kessler, 41. Construction contractor. Married. Wife, Nicole Kessler. Veterinary clinic owner. I swallowed hard. She's with a married man? Roger nodded. Cabin's under Alan's name. She's been staying there since she left your house. They used to meet up at motels, but this time, she committed to the week. From what I can tell, it's not just a fling. Been going on for at least 3 months. I sat down hard on the porch step. 3 months. That would have been right around when she started refusing to sit with me for dinner. Right when the late-night phone calls began. When she accused me of being too predictable. She say anything to him about me? I asked, not even sure why it mattered. Roger shook his head. Didn't hear much. They're careful in person. But the phone logs, he pulled out another sheet. Call patterns show regular late-night contact. Multiple-hour conversations. All hidden behind contact names that weren't real. I looked at the screen grabs. Stacy had saved him as Lauren Book Club. One number, dozens of calls, all logged at hours when I was either asleep beside her or lying awake pretending not to notice. How's his wife involved? I asked, scanning the rest of the report. She's not, Roger said. Far as I can tell, Nicole doesn't know a thing. I stared out at the street. It was quiet. A neighbor's sprinkler hissed softly across the yard. Some kid down the road was bouncing a basketball. All normal things. But nothing felt normal. You okay? Roger asked after a moment. I nodded, though my chest felt like it had been hollowed out with a shovel. I don't know what I thought I'd feel, I said. Anger, maybe. Rage. But right now? What? Embarrassed, I admitted. Like the joke was on me the whole time, and everyone else saw the punchline coming. Roger was quiet for a beat. You trusted someone. That's not weakness. That's the cost of being decent in a world full of liars. I nodded slowly. Then I asked the only question I hadn't dared think about until that moment. Can I talk to Nicole? Roger hesitated. You want to tell her? She deserves to know. Same as I did. He watched me closely. Then, with a slow nod, handed me one last slip of paper. Her clinic. Harmony Animal Care, off Westfield. She works most afternoons. Quiet woman. Keeps to herself. I doubt she's got any idea. I looked down at Nicole Kessler's name and address written in Roger's neat, blocky handwriting. It was one thing to know Stacy was gone, but it was something else entirely to realize. I'd never really had her at all. I stared at Nicole's number on my phone for a long time before I pressed call. My thumb hovered. Part of me hoped she wouldn't answer. The line rang. Once. Twice. 3 times. Then voicemail. A gentle voice said, Hi, this is Dr. Nicole Kessler. Please leave a message. I didn't. I hung up. I didn't want to tell her this over a recording. I couldn't. She deserved more than that, more than I got. So the next day, just before noon, I parked across from Harmony Animal Care and waited. It was a small building tucked between a sandwich shop and a laundromat. The windows were clean. The logo had a paw print forming the heart in harmony. The kind of place that gave off warmth and calm. Exactly the kind of place a woman like her would run. I watched for nearly an hour. People came and went with cats and carriers, dogs wagging their tails. Then finally, just after 1:30, she stepped out. Nicole, mid-30s, maybe. Dark red hair pulled into a loose ponytail, pale blue scrubs, a bag over one shoulder. She looked tired, but composed, the kind of woman who didn't ask for help unless it was absolutely necessary. She got into her white Subaru. I started my truck and followed, careful, 3 car lengths behind. She didn't go far, just a few blocks, pulling into the parking lot of a local cafe called Benny's Bean. She grabbed a book from her passenger seat and went inside. I parked and walked in after her, slow. She was just settling into a corner booth when I approached, holding my hands slightly out to show I meant no harm. Nicole. She looked up, startled at first, confused, then wary. Yes. I'm sorry, I said quickly. My name is Matt Grayson. I'm not here to scare you, I swear. But I think we need to talk. It's about your husband. Her face paled. What? She said softly, eyes narrowing. Who are you again? I took a step back, giving her space. My wife is Stacy Grayson. She's been with your husband, Alan. I have proof. I'm not making this up. She stood up fast, her chair scraping. What did you say? Please, I said. Sit. Just give me 5 minutes, and if I'm wrong, you can walk out. But I'm not wrong. She didn't sit, but she didn't run either. I slowly reached into my coat pocket and pulled out the photos, the ones Roger had given me. Stacy and Alan. At the cabin. At the diner. Nicole stared. For a few seconds, she didn't breathe. Then she grabbed the photos, sat down abruptly, and covered her mouth. I took the seat across from her and lowered my voice. I didn't know either. I only found out because I hired a private investigator 2 days ago. I'm sorry to be the one to bring this to you, but I thought you had the right to know. She looked at me, stunned. They said Alan was at a work conference. I gave a bitter laugh. That's what Stacy told me last month when she didn't come home for 2 days. Same lie, different details. Nicole pressed a trembling hand to her forehead. God. I let the silence sit for a moment. Then I said it. I want us to confront them. Together. When Stacy comes back in 2 days, she's going to walk into our house like nothing happened. If you're willing, I'd like you to be there. Nicole looked at me for a long moment, her eyes glassy but fierce. Yeah, she whispered. Let's do it. I knew the exact second her car turned into the driveway. 7 days to the hour. Stacy's silver Ford pulled in slow, like she was returning from a weekend spa trip, not a week-long lie. I was sitting on the edge of the couch, still and ready. Nicole sat beside me, back straight, hands folded, eyes locked on the front door. She hadn't said much since arriving 15 minutes earlier. Just a quiet, controlled calm. But I could feel the current running under her skin. The engine cut off. A door slammed. Then the unmistakable clack of Stacy's heels on the walkway. My heart was steady. The lock turned. The door opened. And there she was, hair curled, a soft beige coat over a cream blouse, suitcase behind her. She stepped in with a sigh like she'd been carrying the world. Well, she said brightly, not looking up, I hope you at least remembered to pick up the dry cleaning. Then she saw us. Her smile froze. Her eyes flicked from me to Nicole and stayed there. Nicole didn't blink, didn't flinch. Stacy stepped fully inside, closing the door behind her slowly. What is this? She asked, voice a notch higher. I stood. Stacy, this is Nicole Kessler. Stacy's face drained of color. Nicole stood too. Not loud, not dramatic. Just steady. I'm Alan's wife, she said, her voice like frost. In case you've forgotten. Stacy opened her mouth. Closed it. A long pause. Then, I don't know what you're talking about. Nicole tilted her head slightly, a dry smile curling her lips. Really? You've been sharing a bed with him in a cabin that your name's all over, but you don't know what I'm talking about? Stacy turned to me. Matt, what is this? You brought her into our house. No, I said. I let the truth into our house. Big difference. Her eyes darted between us, desperate for an opening. You went through my stuff? Is that what this is about? Invading my privacy? Nicole stepped forward, pulling out a single photograph. She placed it on the coffee table. Stacy and Alan, kissing outside the cabin. Stacy's hand flew up to her mouth. But the horror only lasted a second before it flipped. She snapped. So what? You had me followed? No, Nicole said coolly. Your guilt followed you. It's been trailing you for months. Stacy's voice turned sharp. This is pathetic. You're both pathetic. Two lonely people who can't hold on to their marriages. So you staged some little ambush. You're sleeping with my husband. Nicole cut in, voice tight with rage. And you're standing in my shoes trying to act like you're the victim? You don't understand anything. Stacy shot back. Alan loves me. Alan lies to everyone. Nicole snapped. Including you. You think you're special? You're just another secret. Stacy's lip curled. You don't know him like I do. Nicole stepped in closer, nose to nose now. No, I know him better. That's why I'm done with him. The words landed like a slap. Stacy froze. Nicole looked at me, then back at her. You deserve each other. Then she turned and walked out. Just like that. The door clicked shut behind her, and for a long moment, the house went still. Stacy stood motionless, breathing hard, eyes wild. You set me up, she whispered. No, I said quietly. You did that all on your own. She didn't yell, didn't throw anything. She just collapsed onto the couch like her strings had been cut. And for once, I didn't sit beside her. She didn't cry at first. She just sat there, hunched over on the couch, eyes locked on the floor like she could rewind time if she stared hard enough. Her hand hovered near the photo Nicole had left behind, but never touched it. I stood across the room, arms folded, waiting. I didn't feel victorious. Just steady, clear. When she finally spoke, her voice was small. Matt, I messed up. I didn't answer. She looked up. Her eyes were wet now. You don't understand how empty I felt. You shut down. You stopped seeing me. I saw you every day, I said flatly. I just wasn't what you wanted to be seen with anymore. That made her flinch. She stood slowly, crossing the room toward me. I didn't mean for this to happen. It spiraled. I never stopped loving you. I tilted my head slightly. But you did stop respecting me. Tears welled in her eyes. Can't we just fix this? Take a trip. Just you and me. I'll cook your favorite. That pasta you liked. We can talk. Please, Matt, I'm begging you. Her voice cracked as she reached out, brushing my arm like that one gesture could erase months of secrets. I stepped back. No. She blinked. No. You're not my wife anymore, Stacy, I said calmly. Not in the way that matters. Her face crumpled. Don't say that. You said it first. Every time you lied. Every time you chose someone else. She broke then, the sob ripping out of her like something wild. Her knees buckled and she sank to the floor, covering her face. I don't want to be alone. You should have thought about that before leaving me in this house, alone, every day while you were building a second life. She didn't answer, just cried harder. I walked to the door, opened it. She looked up from the floor, mascara streaked, breathing ragged. Matt, I didn't raise my voice. Please leave. She didn't move at first. Then, slowly she stood, stumbled toward the suitcase she hadn't unpacked. At the door, she paused, turned to face me one last time. I don't know how to fix this. You don't, I said. That's the point. And with that, she stepped outside. I shut the door gently behind her. The silence that followed was real, not angry, not heavy. Just peace. The divorce moved faster than I expected. There were no long speeches, no drawn-out courtroom battles. Stacy didn't fight for the house, didn't ask for spousal support. Maybe she knew there wasn't a jury alive that'd side with her. Not after what Nicole and I brought forward. She walked away with nothing but a few boxes and the echo of her own choices. As for Alan, Nicole didn't let him off easy. She filed within days. Took the evidence straight to court, along with a relentless attorney who made sure every cent Alan had, from his business, his investments, his joint accounts, got frozen and dissected. By the time the dust settled, he was left with a busted pickup truck and a storage unit full of regrets. Stacy and Alan didn't last 2 weeks after that. Turns out, betrayal's a lot less romantic when you're broke. But that wasn't my concern anymore. The house was mine. Quiet now. Not in a hollow way, in a clean, honest way. I fixed the porch light, repainted the living room, started sleeping through the night again. 3 weeks later, I found myself back at Benny's Bean. Not to confront anyone, not to dig up pain. Just coffee. And she was there. Nicole. She was reading at the corner booth again. Same book from that day. But she didn't look up until I was nearly at her table. Room for one more? I asked. She smiled. Not forced, not heavy. Only if you're buying. I sat down. We didn't talk about Stacy or Alan. We talked about everything else. About how quiet can be healing. About how trust isn't just something you give. It's something you learn to give again. And maybe, that day, sitting across from someone who understood the same kind of hurt, we didn't feel broken. We just felt understood. And that was the end of my story. Nicole chose to confront the woman who tore her life apart. Not with revenge, but with truth and grace. Do you think she did the right thing, or would you have handled it differently? Let me know in the comments. I really want to hear your take. And if this story made you feel something, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.